stars?
No,
you see my
You usually do it.
You got it last time.
No, you do it, bro. You do it. Yeah.
Alright, bro. Okay.
Let's act like they didn't see that.
Right. Maybe not post it. No, I'm kidding. Well, welcome back. Yeah. Listen.
The last one of 2021, bro. That's insane, bro.
Mid-season finale.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty bonkers.
Yeah.
It's I don't have another adjective for bonkers or wild or
insane. Well, that's crazy, but those sound bad though.
Right.
We need good words.
Right.
We need
soliloquy. That doesn't even make sense with the
but
context.
it sounds fancy, so we're gonna keep it in there.
Soliloquy. Man. Maybe that's the title of this episode. What if we actually? Yo, I'm kind of tempted.
Why not? Well, no. This is Passion Part 2. This is Passion Part 2.
But it could be Passion Part 2 and still called soliloquy. Anyway,
what does that even mean though?
You know, I know it's like a literature. Well, kind of. Isn't it like a speech?
Wait, hold up. So you don't know what the word means, and you're gonna title it?
I know. I can look it up afterwards. You know,
after you post it.
After we record.
I thought you post it. No. You have no idea. Okay, got it.
Because if it means what I think it means, then it would actually low-key make sense. Because we're like sending people off for the year. So it's like a soliloquy. It's like a send-off message or something.
I've heard that word before. Yeah. I did pay attention in English class.
Bro, if we actually do end up agreeing to the title, it's going to be so funny. Because they're going to be a part of that whole process.
Y'all were part of the decision process for this.
Regardless of whatever we end up titling this episode, in our hearts, it legitimately is Passion Part 2, which if you remember Passion, it was the 3rd episode of season 2, which I think potentially got the most views.
It either got talking YouTube or streams.
It was one of the two.
Okay.
One of the two. Because, you know, it's like, it's so funny with podcasts, and I've realized this ever since I started it this year, that especially with YouTube, it's like people will either go to the bottom of the list because they think that's the first one, which usually it is, or they'll go to the top of the list because they think that's the first one, which usually it's not. So it's just really funny. So when we dropped all 3 episodes at the same time, there's a lot of views and streams for episode 1, and there's a lot of views and streams for episode 2, but then it was like, meh for episode 2 because you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, that's just kind of funny. But either way, like we were saying, oh man, the sun's kind of fading out a little bit, but it's cool though because
we got our lamp just in case we need it.
Just in case. But yeah, this is Passion Part 2 to us because we felt like it deserved a Part 2, and you know, coming from the stuff that we were talking about in that episode and just looking back at what's happened in our lives since, we thought it would only make sense to make our mid-season finale a Part 2 to that episode. So man, Josh, it's crazy. It's like I'm looking back at everything that we've talked about. I'm looking back on everything, and I was gonna kind of start us out, but I don't know. I feel like I want you to talk a little. I want you to like what have you learned since that episode? What's happened in your life? And I don't know, because this is gonna be a very open episode. Like we don't really have like an outline that much really. It's really just like we just want to talk to you about what we've gone through, and hopefully it ministers to you in some sort of way, and hopefully it, you know, you guys can relate in some sort of way. So tell them what's up, Josh.
About what I've learned since Passion Part 1.
Right.
Wow.
And you can even be daring enough to go into this year in general, because I'm definitely gonna mention some things from the year 2021 overall.
Well, since Passion Part 1, the biggest thing that's happened to me is the transition between God putting me through a season of humility, entering into a season of trust. Now, we all need to constantly humble ourselves and, you know, constantly trust God. But I feel like for me, I'm in a season where He's teaching me how to do those things, because I've been a believer my whole life, but I haven't gotten close to God until these past 2 years. So in a way, even though I'm not, I kind of feel like I'm, in a way, like a baby Christian learning the new experiences of God. You know what I'm saying? Like learning, you know, wow, what does it mean to trust God? You know, what does it mean to stay humble, you know, in God? What does it mean to surrender to Him and give everything up to Him in every single aspect of my life, you know? And as believers, you know, we're supposed to do that. But for me, it's just like I'm learning these things for the very first time. And that's the biggest thing, is that transition, man. But I mean, humility to trust, to be honest with you, that's been the whole year of 2021. You know, I started this year with a lot of pride and a lot of arrogance. Not in the sense of, oh, I'm better than everybody else, or, this, that, and the third. It was more so internal, in my heart, where it's like, God, I got this. You know what I'm saying? I'm holy. You know what I'm saying? I'm righteous. This actually goes a little bit back to quarantine 2020. Unfortunately, the pandemic, affected a whole lot of lives, took a lot of lives, A lot of people lost their jobs and everything. But fortunately for me and my family, we weren't affected too heavily by the pandemic. But during that, amen. Thank God, man. Praise the Lord. But during that quarantine season, I'm in the house, and for me, another fortunate thing, it didn't affect me in a negative way, but I developed a big ego because being isolated, I wasn't around, the friends I shouldn't have been hanging out with. I wasn't around those worldly environments in high school that I always participated in. So I thought, wow, I'm in my word. I'm reading the Bible. I love God. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm Mr. Holy. Now, part of it was a genuine want and desire for God, but a lot of it was pride. Like, I'm holy. I'm reading the word. You know what I'm saying? I'm good without God. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not falling back into my old ways. You know what I'm saying?
You're saying you had good intentions. It always comes back to intentionality, but
intentionality,
it's crazy. I'm sorry. Continue.
You're good. I had intentions. I don't even know. I was more so doing it because I felt good about myself, not really because I loved God. You know what I'm saying? But
you thought you were passionate about God, but in reality, you're passionate about yourself.
Absolutely, and feelings. It was a feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, which is exactly what we talked about in that episode, right?
Yeah. If you remember from the last episode, we mainly talked about what it means to be passionate versus emotional. That's the word. That's the word. Passionate versus emotional. I was very emotional. You know what I'm saying? And but entering into 2021, God was like, enough. You know what I'm saying? I could feel him. He never leaves us, but I could feel him, kind of just watching me as I went into those worldly environments. You know what I'm saying? As I went to the clubs and was with the wrong crowd, and I started to question myself because I was falling a lot. And I was like, God, I'm holier than this. I'm more righteous than this. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, he used this situation to just break me down in a good way, where he's like, you need to humble yourself. You need to realize you are nothing without me. One of the biggest ways he did that, I've mentioned it before. I think I mentioned it in the episode, but I had a codependency issue on relationships. I felt like I always had to have a girl to feel validated, and it's fun. It's crazy, man. In high school, I was a really bad person.
You was a player.
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately, man. I was terrible, bro. Like, I would just use people for whatever, man. And I took pride in that because I had my heart broken in my first relationship. So I was like, yo, man, I'm gonna just Heartbreaker Josh. You know what I mean?
Heartbreaker Josh. That's gonna be your new contact. Heartbreaker Josh.
Nah, bro. He's serious, but
I love him serious.
But nah, bro. Like,
you won't start playing 808s and Heartbreak. How could you be so heartless? How could you be so Dr. Evil? I'm sorry.
That was one of my favorite songs.
That was a good song.
It is still a good song.
That and Love Lockdown. I keep your love locked down. Your love locked down. Oh my God. I don't have a good voice.
No, you do have a voice, bro.
You're literally.
Next episode.
That's not even me singing.
MPower. We need to get you a concert, bro.
Oh my gosh. What, MPower karaoke?
Yeah. Oh, yo, that's actually. That's actually an idea.
That's actually a good idea.
That's actually seriously good. But that's actually a really good idea. No, you're good. You're good. I got this. But yeah, man. Like I felt like I always had to need someone. I got to the point where I would cheat and I would feel nothing. It's lying. Cheating is a number of sins. Lying. It's one of the biggest ones. You know what I'm saying? You're not being trustful. You're not being honest. You're not being upfront. And I just took that and I was like, I had a lot of issues in me. And going into 2021, I carried that baggage with me. I carried that baggage. You're gonna get on me again, bro. I was listening to another Caleb Gordon song, bro.
This man obsessed.
No, he had a song. He said something in his lyrics where he was like, carrying all the baggage without the bag. And I was like, shoot, you carry baggage. If you pick all of these things up, you're stumbling. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have anybody to carry it for you because God was meant to take it. And so going into 2021, bro, I carried that pride. And God said enough, bro. He stopped every situation. Any situation I could have talked to a female or something, man, he just cut it off, man. He like forced me to be alone. And August, bro, he just delivered me from that codependence. He delivered me from that need to feel like I needed someone, because it wasn't even about relationships. It was insecurities that I didn't deal with in my childhood.
Right.
And bro, he just humbled me in more ways, bro. I realized I was codependent on money. You know what I'm saying? On having a car as my validity. You know what I'm saying? I was more dependent on my self-image, and God was just like, you're not here to be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? You're not here to, you know, have a car and have money and have all of these things. You're not here so.
Which none of those things are bad things.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for bringing the balance.
Yeah, got to.
Not bad things at all, but for me, it was my idol. You know, I was idolizing it, and he was showing me, you are here as a soldier for Christ. You know what I'm saying? And you are here to do the purpose that I called you to do. And then he also told me, will you have those things? Yes, but that's not your purpose.
Yeah, it's about purpose. It's about passion.
Passion. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing, man. He taught me what it means to truly be passionate for God. You know what I'm saying? Ever since I released, he had me release a short film, 2020, man, attacks started to come. But I prayed, and I said a prayer right before it was released. God, whatever you want to come out of this, let it come. Even if the enemy attacks, even if, you know, I get persecuted, and I'm ready.
It's a dangerous prayer.
Dangerous prayer, and it answered.
But no, dangerous prayers, man, they get amazing results.
Yeah.
Like a risky prayer gives it reaps a fantastic reward.
That's the craziest thing, bro, because as many things because God wasn't doing, the enemy was attacking me, but I opened the door to minister. You know what I'm saying? And when you open the door to minister, when you get on the front lines of the gospel, the enemy will attack. But so many blessings came out of that, man. So many blessings. But there was one point where I was questioning God, because I was like, God, why is all of this stuff happening to me? And then he's like, did you really mean it when you prayed that prayer? Or were you just emotional in a moment? You know what I'm saying? Or were you really passionate? Were you prepared? Or were you just emotional in that moment? And it really made me think, man, what it means. This Christ walk, bro, it's not easy, but it is so joyous, man. Right. So joyous.
That last part that you said, that's what I really want to bring. I think that segues perfectly into everything that I wanted to mention.
Absolutely.
You know, just like, are you doing this because you mean it, or is it because you're emotional? It takes me back to at the church that we go to, we have this conference every year. It's called TVC, the Voice Conference. And typically every year, you know, when you have a church conference, it's like a whole couple of day event. You know, there's lots of them. Worship for some reason always just hits differently there. You just you're coming with that expectancy, which is good to come with expectancy. Even though we should be carrying that same expectancy with us every day, because, you know, God is still the same God today as he is during those times. But, you know, obviously with those things, we have that sort of extra it's just what we do as human beings, you know. But especially on the last night, the last service of the conference, everyone, they'll get prophesied over, they'll get answers to things that maybe they had just been searching for. And throughout that entire conference, I was struggling trying to finish a project for school. I think I mentioned this in my first episode of season 1. You know, I'm an architecture major at UCF, and or I was an architecture major at UCF, which I guess obviously I have to explain that now. Which I've talked to a few close people about this, but now I want to kind of just be able to put this out there and hope that it inspires someone, not necessarily to drop out of their major or to do anything crazy, but just nudge on their heart to ask, what are you doing and why are you doing it, you know? And so that's what it really is. But yeah, I'm a former architecture major, but at that time I was trying to finish my midterm project, and I was so behind on it because this entire semester, I just had to work so much. I missed classes. I wouldn't be able to pay for the supplies that I needed because the department was so unorganized, the architecture program there, so unorganized. People weren't putting the paperwork for me that they needed to. I was, transient student, so I had to go between this community college and UCF, and get, like all the documentation back and forth, and the scholarship was just like, oh yeah, we
I'm
can't
sorry,
really.
man.
It
That's
was
a lot of stuff, man.
no, it was hell on earth, especially for a 19-year-old. Trying to figure out. I just realized we don't have the LEDs on. But
Oh, wow.
this is the only time that in the episode we have it. But hey, I guess it's for the mood, whatever. But because I was wondering, I was like, why is it darker than usual? but
We still have this lamp over here.
We still, yeah.
I'm looking at the lighting. That makes
Honestly, I kind of like it. It's a little different.
it's a vibe, bro. I like it.
It's
And then
a
it's
vibe.
like contrast. I'm
Yeah.
a film person, so I'm
Yeah.
always looking at.
For sure. I guess this darkness around kind of just like portrays you taking a journey into our minds. I don't know.
Yes.
Yes. But on the real though, it was a lot for me, man. I had a private external scholarship, and they're just like, yeah, we can't release these funds to you yet because, just a whole bunch of different things going on with my credit hours, things that were out of my control. And I was like, God, I did everything correctly, but there are these people who are sitting up in these high positions who get to, go home and, not have to worry about things, but they're not doing their job and it's affecting me. I'm alone. I don't have any family really in the city like that. I'm having to figure out what I'm gonna eat, how I'm gonna where I'm gonna sleep, like how I'm gonna pay bills and stuff, all because of what someone else is doing or they're not doing. Yeah. And how it's affecting me. The program was so disorganized, and that's just what I was living in. And the reason why I'm mentioning all of this is because at that conference, I was looking for answers. I was saying, God, like, do you want me to just, at the time I wanted to just drop out of school.
Yeah.
I wanted to drop out of school so that way I could just have time to like get a full-time job and then start being able to be financially stable again. And so I was like, God, what do you want me to do? I was like, do you even want me to fully commit to this podcast and like genuinely just try to hurry up and make a career out of it so that way that can be something too, which I do feel like that's something he wants me to do, but I'll get to that later. But yeah, I was looking for answers. I was expecting. But for me though, I had to make sure it wasn't just off of emotion. There was a lot of emotions going on that entire weekend, and there were some sessions I really did. I was like, man, like I learned more about what God's will was. I learned more about the adiaphora, which I can't explain.
Shoot, I forgot about that. That was crazy.
That's a topic for another video.
Yeah.
But like, I learned so much about that. But still, at the end of the whole conference, as fulfilling as it was, I still didn't get my answer because I knew that I didn't have peace yet. Like, at least not in that decision. I knew that God gave me everything that He needed to give me at that time, but I didn't move because I didn't have the answer yet. And I think a lot of the times, just people in life, it doesn't even matter if they're Christians. I think Christians are heavily guilty of it. But just every time, like in general, we'll get filled with all of these heavy emotions, and then we expect, oh, okay, something has to change. And I can be guilty of that sometimes, like I'm very much a person who likes to have a physical memento of change. When I entered a new season, that's when I chopped off my hair. Because, that time it was genuinely a spiritual decision. God was telling me, hey, you need to let this go because it was becoming an insecurity for me. But that's another story. Go back to season 1, episode 1 if you want that story. But yeah, and so we just do that often so many times, man. We will think like, oh man, like because I feel different, I need to make a drastic change in my life. It can be as simple as dyeing your hair, or it could be like, oh,
facts,
or you're gonna be like, you know what, I just need to cut everyone off of social media. I'm gonna block everybody, and then you're just left alone without any community. You just blocked some people who genuinely were speaking life into you, and you got all high and mighty. Which hey, I'll use you for like you got prideful, which you didn't like block everyone on social media. But I'm just saying,
no, I actually.
Oh, okay, maybe you did.
Yep.
So you just suck. I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding. But no, like we will feel that need, and it's to convince ourselves rather than to really listen to God, because we'll get filled with all of these different emotions. And I knew that I did not want to do that in that moment. So even months after that conference, I still stayed in this major. I still grinded it out. I still was waiting on God to give me an answer. Until I finally did get that clarity. And He told me, I don't want you to drop out of school, but you need to leave this major. Because I looked back at the entire year of 2021. That's when I started this program in January. ever since then, I've gone through so much stuff, and the stuff is definitely, it's built my character. So I think maybe I was meant to be in it for some time, but I look back at how much I've struggled and I realized I never even enjoyed any of it. And obviously you're gonna struggle in anything that you do because nothing's gonna go perfectly, but at the same time, the struggle should be worth it to you, and the struggle wasn't worth it to me. And I realized that why am I holding on to something that I have no fulfillment in? Why am I? Is it because it's comfortable? Is it because I find stability in it? Because it's crazy. It's crazy that I even say that, because I was holding on to something that I thought was comfortable to me because I thought it was stable, when in reality it was making me more unstable by the day.
Wow.
It was making me more financially unstable. It was making me more mentally unstable. It was even making me emotionally unstable. But because in the physical, like what my eyes could see, that was the only constant in my life, I thought that's what I needed. That's what's going to give me stability. It can be like that, and this is completely off topic, but it can be like that in abusive relationships sometimes.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, absolutely.
You will be messed up in all these different areas, but because this person has stayed and he's still there, then I feel like I just need to be there with him. And what I'm trying to convey to you guys is that just because something is consistent doesn't mean it's good for you. You know what I mean?
I say that again. Say that again.
For real. Just because something is consistent doesn't mean it's good for you. Like, just because something is constantly coming back, sometimes that says more about you than it says about that thing. Why are you continually allowing that thing in your life? Why are you continually allowing that person to show up in your DMs? Why are you continually allowing just that person to talk to you in that sort of way? Like, consistency is a good thing in many different scenarios, but it's not a good thing in all scenarios. And I was consistent in this major, but it was also consistently destroying me this entire year. And I realized there was three things that made me eventually realize that I couldn't be here anymore. I mentioned to you that, and this is kind of initially how this episode even got formulated in my head. I mentioned to you that when I moved to this city, when I moved to Orlando, it felt like the Jacksonville side of me and the Orlando side of me was like fighting for custody in my brain, because in Jacksonville, all I knew was just like school and pursuing architecture, because those were my only options. Yeah, go ahead and turn on that light.
We need that. We need that.
That was all that I knew. But here I met so many creatives. I met so many people, like you were telling me before we started recording, so many people who make music, so many people who, like you, are interested in film, so many actors and actresses. And I was like, there's so many creatives here. I want to explore that side of me. That was my first straw. My second straw was, I think, just starting this podcast, tapping into something that was just creative for me, and being able to just, I don't know, I'd say 1.5 is also doing productions, you know, and getting into acting, because, you know, that, like, both the podcast and getting into acting, both of those really kind of just made me, I don't know, put myself out there more and see what I could do. And then I feel like the last thing really was just when I started making beats.
Yeah, you told me about that.
And I'm still very new at that, but being able to like do something musically, which is something that I've always low-key wanted to do, but didn't think that I was gonna be able to do it until now I realized that I can, made me realize like, yo, like, why am I running from what I genuinely want to do in life? Why am I running from who I am, from the creative that God has created me to be? Because again, like, all I knew, the only consistent thing in Jacksonville was school and architecture for me. That was it. But again, like, that doesn't mean that it was right for me. Sometimes you have to go against the grain to truly have peace in your life. Just because, like, you think, like, oh, well, these are my only options. We'll make a new option. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys tonight. Sometimes you have to create the new option. Sometimes you have to create the third choice. It shouldn't just be a red pill or a blue pill. Sometimes you got to make the green one. I don't know. Sometimes you got to make the purple one. Like, we're not called to be on this earth to just do what's already been done.
Yeah.
It's like it says in Ecclesiastes, you know, there's like nothing new under the sun. Like, we have to create something new. We're called to be world changers. Because if we're not, why are we even here?
Yeah.
Why are we even bothering to get out of bed if we're just doing stuff that's already been done? Like, you have to have your individual impact. And it doesn't mean that you have to start a company or you have to be the president or something. It could just be your community, man.
Because you have a purpose.
Exactly.
You have a purpose.
You have a purpose, even if it's just to change and challenge your community. That right there makes a difference. So what I'm trying, and I know that I've been kind of blabbering on for so long. There's just been so much that's happened, and there's been so much I needed to get off my chest. And one of the biggest things, I kind of mentioned it a little bit, was this entire semester, I've been struggling financially because of that major, because they didn't send me my check. Finally, the check is now at my institution. But guess what? At the time of this recording, I still do not have that money in my account. It's not in my bank account. It's actually supposed to be getting here today, but then with processing time with my bank, it should be here maybe like Monday or something. But the thing is, I still found peace, even before I saw something change, because I made the decision to let it go. I made that mental decision, like, letting things go, it starts up here before you ever see change in the physical realm. Like, that's just how it is. I finally saw change. Yeah. I finally felt change, at least in myself. And it was funny. I was talking to, our friend Alex. He told me, he was just like, man, you've been waiting for that reimbursement financially, but God's going to give you a spiritual reimbursement.
Amen.
Like, everything that you've endured this entire year, I know it is getting pretty dark. Why is it so dark?
I don't know. We usually put it on the other side. You keep going, man. Don't worry about this stuff.
But no, bro, like, everything that I've suffered, and I'm gonna make this general with everyone. Everything that you've gone through in 2021, maybe even the things that are still, like, coming from 2020, all the things that you struggled with and that you put up with for so long, when you finally make that decision to let those things go and truly walk in everything God has for you, God's gonna give you that spiritual reimbursement. He's like, you lost so much. You did allow the enemy to steal a lot of time and a lot of energy from you, but I'm gonna give it back to you, and I'm gonna give you tenfold. It's coming, but you have to make the decision to accept it, bro. And I don't know, man. I mean, we'll be wrapping up soon, but I think that's just the biggest thing that I had to get across today, is that let the thing go. Don't hold on to what you think is stable. If God is telling you to do something, then you need to do it. You need to do it. Like, I mean, you think that it's making you stable, but in reality, your emotions are all in a wreck, because it's like, oh, well, I don't want to, react. Of course, you don't want to react on your emotions. Don't do that. But at the same time, you need to listen to what God has for you. So I don't know, man. I'm done.
You're just talking straight to me the whole time, man. That really ministered to me, bro. That seriously ministered to me. I've literally been going through a season where the circumstances haven't changed, but God has put a peace in me. You know what I'm saying? Like, my finances and everything, my, the situations and everything, the attacks, it hasn't changed, but God has put a peace in me, that spiritual reimbursement that I just, can we move that over here? Maybe. Is that where we can move it? Can we drag it? Let's just drag this. But almost like, I can't move it. Never mind. Yeah, it's almost like a spiritual reimbursement, man. I understand exactly how that feels, bro. And then what you said, just letting go, bro. I've been going through a process where I've had to let go of a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? Letting go of a lot of different, I told you about, things back home and stuff like that. Letting go of things and giving it to God, because when you give it to Him, He cannot mess it up, because He's God. You know what I'm saying? He knows you. He created you. He has your purpose. Whatever situation you're going through, He knows how it's going to work out, but you just got to trust Him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I do want to say this before we wrap up too, man, how you waited. You know what I'm saying? Because usually,
didn't want to react on my emotions.
I really commend you for that, bro. That really, what you said really seriously, like, inspired me to wait, because at TVC, when you have conferences, one of the possible cons about conferences is that people can get caught up in the emotionalism.
They'll get caught up in the hype.
In the hype, to where they see all of these things happening. They're like, oh, where's mine? Where's mine? And then they give up. You know what I'm saying?
It's like when you're at church and you, like, start seeing people fall out and you're just like,
yeah. It's like, I want to feel that too, but no, man, like, you waited for months. Sometimes it's not going to be an hour. Sometimes it's not going to be a second. Sometimes it's going to take time. But it's like, Are you really passionate? Do you really trust God? You know what I'm saying? You prove that.
Where's your passion
You know what I'm saying?
directed to? Honestly, I think the best way to end is just by saying this. Don't react out of your emotions. Don't make decisions, especially life-changing decisions, fully just on like emotional and hype and all of that. But when God tells you to finally make that move, to finally make that change, bro, do it without hesitation. There's a fine line. You don't want to be on this side, you don't want to be on this side. You don't want to be too slow to act, but you don't want to be too eager either. But there's a time and a place for everything, and I solely believe that. And on this mid-season finale, as we head into this new year, listen, 2022 is going to be game-changing.
Yeah.
There's so much that God is going to just do in not only our lives, but in y'all's lives. So get ready to act. We love you guys.
Yeah.
It's been a great season so far. I know it's a little dark right now. I don't know. Maybe we can do some post-editing. I don't know how that works.
I'll try to figure something out. I hope it doesn't get too bad.
Even if it isn't, whatever. Like, y'all don't need to see us like that. It's a podcast first before it's a YouTube channel. But the sun looks beautiful going down.
Yeah, it does. You all can't see it, but it does look beautiful. It's sun setting on a season.
Yeah, wow. I'm gonna get a video of that, and hopefully you can put that in the episode. It's beautiful, and we love you guys, and we thank you so much for rocking with us. 2022, we're going up. We love y'all.
Peace.
We hope you guys enjoyed that video, and we have a lot more content coming your way. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and tune in every Saturday at 7 a.m. on whatever listening platform you may be listening to for a new episode of MPower. Catch you guys later. That works. That works.